Caught my girlfriend wearing perfume at the market without her friends, and now my gut insists she's hiding something. I've been dating this incredible woman for about 2 years, and honestly, she means the world to me. We've always felt like two peas in a pod. I truly adore her. She's become the centerpiece of my universe, and we always have plans, weekends, weeks, impromptu getaways. We're both big on traveling, so having our weekend set is crucial because of all the logistics I usually handle to make a trip or an outing perfect. But several months ago, everything changed. Out of nowhere, she canceled on a weekend trip we'd planned together. It stung, catching me completely off guard, but I tried to brush it off. Life happens, unexpected things come up. She told me she'd decided to go to a party with her friends instead. I kept cool and let her know there were no hard feelings. I told her to enjoy herself, and that she could call me at the end of the night so I could pick her up if she needed a ride. I figured I'd get her usual "come pick up my drunk self" text. But when the night came to an end, instead of hearing from her, all I got was a message: "I'm going to stay the night at my friend's place." I told her that was fine, to get some rest, and to have a nice night. But a part of me couldn't help but feel uneasy. When we finally saw each other a week later, the energy between us was completely different. There was something off. My gut twisted, my spider sense went wild. We went out for dinner, but she couldn't bring herself to look me in the eye. Her gaze wandered everywhere but my face. I asked her if she was all right or if there was something I could do to help, but all she said was no, and that she just wanted to go home. There was something weighing heavy on her, that much was clear. But whatever it was locked away, and no amount of gentle prodding from me was going to coax it out. In the weeks that followed, I started noticing a pattern. She canceled more plans with me, plans that had always been sacred between us. Instead, she'd tell me she was hanging out with her friends for drinks. That in itself wouldn't have bothered me, but when I suggested tagging along to one of these girls' nights, she quickly shut me down, insisting that I'd be bored. "Find something else to keep yourself occupied," she said, almost offhand. That put me on high alert. The uneasiness gnawed at me. I knew something was up but couldn't put my finger on it. Then it happened again a week or so later. We had plans for Saturday. She bailed. "I'm hanging out with my drinking friend at the farmer's market," she said. "Maybe we can meet up later tonight." Something in my mind snapped. It only takes me about 10 minutes to get to this market, and suddenly, I felt like I was starring in an amateur detective story. Without warning her, I decided to play detective. If something was going on, I had to know. I arrived at the market and scanned every corner, every calf, every stall. Nowhere. I couldn't spot her. After a while, I sent her a casual message: "Hey, I happen to be at the market too. Where are you?" In an instant, my phone blew up message after message: "Where did you park? Which direction are you in? Which shop are you by?" I gave her the details, and about 10 minutes later, there she was, walking up to me. She wore perfume. She never wears perfume, not for errands, not for the market. And there was a tension in the air that made my heart thud. I asked where her friends were, half expecting to be introduced, but she told me they all had left to get lunch. Now I can't escape the feeling that something's not right. I don't want to be paranoid, but my gut tells me I'm not imagining things. How do I get to the truth? What should I ask her? Am I completely misreading the situation, or is there really something going on behind my back? What struck me was her focus. She cared more about discovering who had ratted her out than actually responding to the accusation. She insisted, over and over, that she didn't want to break up, then began to guilt-trip me. Didn't I know how she felt about me? That by asking these questions, I was showing I didn't trust her. The weight of guilt crushed me. I suddenly felt like the worst person in the world. Despite her continued insistence to reveal my source, I wouldn't give in. She said she was exhausted, wanted to relax, and suggested we talk again later, maybe over the weekend. Sitting there, juggling my own feelings and the advice I'd gotten from friends, I realized she'd completely misdirected the conversation. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, even though the guilt was eating at me for accusing the woman I loved of cheating. I sat with that, feeling worse and worse, convinced I'd just cracked our entire relationship. Loving her as much as I did, I decided I needed to apologize. I jumped in my car, drove the hour to her city, and stopped on the way to buy her favorite chocolate ice cream, a peace offering. That's when things really took a left turn. When I stopped at the shop, I ran right into her daughter, who was hanging out with her boyfriend. They were both in college, finished with night classes, and wanted a treat. We chatted a bit, and she mentioned she'd be staying at her boyfriend's place that night but had forgotten a workbook and needed to stop by the house. After her boyfriend took off, I followed her in my car to my girlfriend's place. I parked on the street. There was a sign parking at her unit, but her daughter actually pulled in behind me. When we got out, I joked, "What's up, neighbor took your spot again?" She shook her head. "No, that's not my neighbor's car." Something about her tone, or her sigh, made my heart drop. I just knew. We both walked up to the door, shuffled inside, and immediately froze in the entryway. There was no mistaking what we heard. The rhythmic thumping and moaning, little exclamations coming straight from the bedroom across from us. Her daughter's eyes went wide and she just whispered, "Oh my God. I'm so sorry." Suddenly, it felt like I was outside my body, watching everything unfold through glass. All I could do was stand there, clutching a quart of chocolate ice cream while my girlfriend was in the bedroom with someone else. I didn't know how to move or even breathe. Suddenly, her daughter screamed, a sound halfway between a banshee and a fire truck siren, "Mom, what the fuck?" My girlfriend ran out, absolutely naked, probably thinking there had been some sort of emergency. Maybe it really was some kind of motherly panic. All she could manage was, "Oh my God. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here?" She kept repeating that, panic rising, until she retreated back into the bedroom. I stayed there, numb, still not present in my own skin. I couldn't say how much time passed, seconds or hours, it all blurred together. She eventually came back out, now in pajamas, talking quietly to whoever the hell was still in her bedroom. Then she started yelling at her daughter and me, demanding to know why we were there. The reality of it all finally hit, and she started sobbing, collapsing into tears and barely coherent noises. Her daughter let loose, "How could you do this? You did it again. I've seen enough." I couldn't even look at her. My whole body was ringing with numbness and shock. I walked over to her kitchen table, put down the ice cream, and said, "I know you get hungry after sex, so here's some ice cream." Then, without looking back, I walked out the door. She was sobbing, "No," but I just kept going, got in my car, and drove home. That was a few days ago. I didn't go into work the next day. My phone hasn't stopped blowing up since. I haven't replied to her, couldn't bring myself to. But the messages keep coming. If we had spent more time together it wouldn't have happened. It doesn't mean anything. You know that I love you. If you cared anything about us or our relationship you would talk to me. Are you ignoring me, please? So many pleases. If you cared, we would be able to work this out. On and on and on. Right now, I just feel numb. I can't begin to understand how or why this happened. I gave everything I could to her and her family, weathered tough times with them, and tried to create something good. Even though I know I shouldn't feel this way, it's hard not to think I wasn't enough, or that I'll never make someone happy. It's frustrating. I know I'll get over it in time, but it still hurts so much. I don't understand how we could have been so good, and then everything's just dust and betrayal. There are so many questions I want to ask her, but I'm forcing myself to cut off all contact, to move forward, bit by bit. In retrospect, I really do wish I'd kept the ice cream. Update 2. Silence didn't last. I blocked her number, put my phone face down, convinced myself the next chapter would be grief and boring, quiet healing. Then an unknown number lit up my screen while I was washing dishes. A man's voice. Calm, older, the paper-thin edge of embarrassment in it. "Hey. I'm the guy from the house." It felt like my rab cinched. He apologized right away, like he was practicing. He said he didn't know about me, he thought I was an ex who wouldn't let go. He said he didn't want to fight, he just wanted me to hear it from him because, quote, he would want the same. He asked if we could meet somewhere public. I said yes because apparently I like main character moments now. We sat across from each other in a diner off the highway with coffee that tasted like potting soil. He was normal. Khakis, a navy windbreaker, weary eyes. He didn't have the face of a homewrecker. He had the face of a guy who just realized the ground he'd been walking on wasn't actually ground. He laid it out. They'd been seeing each other 4 months. He thought she was single. She told him I was a controlling ex, that I spiraled and she was trying to be compassionate. That word. Compassionate. Like I was a wounded dog she was bringing warm milk to. He pulled up screenshots with dates that lined up too neatly with my knots. The first cancelled trip. Their first movie night. The perfume at the market. He laughed without humor. Yeah, that was me. She tried mine on because, what did she say? Oh, it makes me feel different. We were by the flower stalls. You texted and she sprinted. He said he hid behind a stack of crates while she duck walked away and then came back to tell him all her friends had left for lunch. He mimed the duck walk and I hated that I recognized it. He thought he was the only one until a few weeks ago when he found a men's jacket in her closet that wasn't mine and wasn't his and still had a dry cleaning tag on it with a store nowhere near either of our cities. When he asked, she called him paranoid, said it was her brother's. Then he met her daughter in the worst possible orchestra of timing and everything cracked. He looked miserable. He said, very quietly, I liked her. She made me feel seen. I nodded because I understood that in my bones. My phone buzzed on the fake marble. Her name didn't appear, new number. I'm parked outside your place, can you please just come down and talk to me? Then, I'm in the lobby, then nothing. I wasn't home. A kind of relief washed through me that felt ugly and good. When I left the diner, I sat in my car for a long time, watching rain beat up on the windshield. A second number called. Her daughter. She asked if I was okay, then asked if she could tell me something that wasn't her business but also absolutely was. She said, she did it today, too. Not with the same guy, not even the same situation. Just the same shape. The same monsoon, different year. There was a time when she walked in on her mom and a neighbor and it blew their house in half. She said she was sorry again for that night, like she was the one who owed me anything. I slept actually okay for once. Morning came and with it, chaos and heels. She showed up at my work. She told the front desk she was my fiancé. I only know because my coworker pinged me, your fiancé, he brought cupcakes? I stepped into the lobby feeling like I'd been pushed on stage naked. She was all mascara and soft voice, she even brought that stupid framed picture of us at the lake where I'm sunburned and she's in my hat. She tried to hand me a box of sprinkle cupcakes like they were a white flag. Can we talk for 2 minutes? Please. Don't do this here, she said, and every person within 50 feet found something fascinating on the floor. I'm not doing anything, I said. You're doing this here. She pivoted to the greatest hits. We were soulmates. I was her best friend. She made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. She'd do therapy. My chest did the hollow drum thing. I told her I was going back upstairs. She reached for my arm and I stepped back and suddenly there was a security guard being polite in the way that isn't actually a question. He asked if everything was okay. She laughed a wet, brittle little laugh and said, of course, we're just talking. The guard's eye slid to me. I shook my head. He asked her to leave. Her face went blank for a second like power lost, then she said through her teeth, you're humiliating me, loud enough for the receptionist to flinch. When the doors closed after her, the room exhaled. I stood there with a cupcake box in my hands and no clue what to do with it. I took it upstairs. My manager just handed me a sticky note that said take 10. I stared at the parking lot until the sun did the cold, indifferent thing and the asphalt kept being the same. That night the guy from the diner texted me again. He sent a screenshot of a message she'd fired off to him the second she left my office. They are trying to turn you against me. He's weak, he always does this. Come over. He replied with one word. No. He told me, he blocked her after that. He wrote, I wish I'd known sooner. I'm sorry. I told him none of this was his fault. It felt true saying it. Then a curveball I didn't see coming. A woman called from a number I didn't have, the kind of call that makes your hands cold before you pick up. She introduced herself as the wife of not diner guy. Another name. The jacket. Apparently, the daughter had messaged her, too clean, clinical, here is what I saw, here are dates. She wasn't hysterical. She sounded tired and astonishingly kind. She said, I just wanted to say thank you for not yelling at my husband in front of my kids. I said I hadn't even met him. She exhaled, a little laugh that had no joy in it. Then I'm sorry you're in this mess. You're not crazy. You're just the first one who didn't make excuses for her. We sat in the quiet for a second, two strangers with the same bruise. Somewhere in all that, a florist delivered flowers to my apartment with a note that said, let me fix this. Dinner Friday, your favorite place, 7:30 am. I'll be there waiting. I don't know how you fix the part where I can still hear my name in your throat from the other room while you're with someone else. I took the card out and painted under my magnet shaped like a sloth because it made me laugh and also because I needed to remind myself what I was not going to do. On Friday at 7:30 am, I did go to my favorite place. Not for her. I sat at the bar by myself, told the bartender to please not see anyone next to me if there was a choice, and ate the biggest plate of spaghetti like I was starving. At 7:42 am and my phone buzzed. A selfie of her at a table across the room, menu propped like a shield. I looked at her through the bottles, like we were two animals at different ends of a glass habitat. She gestured, hands up, a little pleading half twist. I shook my head. The bartender asked if everything was okay. I'm just finally eating my dinner, I said. I paid the check and walked out through the side door and into the cool night that felt like something had finally broken loose. The next morning, there was a box on my doorstep with all my notes and ticket stubs and a Polaroid of me looking at her like she invented color. On top, a pint of chocolate ice cream. Melted, leaking through the carton, sugar slake on cardboard like an apology that didn't bother to show up on time. I tossed it and kept the Polaroid. Not because of her. Because that guy was still me, and he deserved to make it to the other side of this with both feet on the ground. Update 3. I really thought the universe had gotten bored of me. Joke's on me. At 6:12 am. On a Tuesday, my email chirped with confetti like an overeager party planner. Your trip is almost here. I hadn't booked anything. She had used my miles. Destination, the same desert town where we'd once watched a wind farm turn like 1,000 lazy metronomes. Seats together. Hotel 4-2 with a hot tub. My name and her name like a punchline. I sat there in the dim buttery light of my stove hood, strolling through the confirmation like it might decide to become someone else's. I called the airline with my morning voice and canceled everything and then sat on the edge of my bathtub and changed every password like I was knitting myself a thicker skin. At noon the same day, her daughter called and said, I'm moving out. Today. Can you, be there? Not to carry stuff. Just be there. I told her I'd be there. She sounded like someone who'd taken a deep breath and finally remembered how to let it go. I drove over with nothing but a roll of blue painter's tape and a Sharpie because buying boxes felt too permanent. The place smelled like eucalyptus cleaner fighting with old perfume, and the living room held that specific chaos at a half-life being put into piles keep, toss, cry over later. She had her hair up in a cyclone bun and kept saying sorry about the dust like she was trying manners on for armor. We worked in a rhythm. I taped labels and she tossed shoes like she was dealing cards in a casino she didn't want to be in. I found my spare key in the little ceramic dish by the door, the one shaped like a leaf where she used to leave her rings. I palmed it without commentary. In the kitchen, behind a box of stale crackers no one had ever liked, we found the thing that made gravity step sideways, a second phone. Gold case with a crack across one corner like a spider web. It lit up on movement and there was my face, not my face, exactly, but a photo of my arm around her at a festival, cropped just so that it could be anyone. The lock screen pulsed with a notification for yoga at 4 p.m. And then you'll be here in 2 minutes. Yoga had a heart emoji next to it. The daughter made a sound that was more like air escaping than a laugh. She didn't open it. She didn't ask me to. She wrapped the phone in an old dish towel like it could shatter more if we looked at it too hard and slid it into a box marked evidence/do not engage, which cracked something in me in a way I didn't expect. She looked at me then and said, you don't have to be the adult here, but her hands were steady while mine weren't. I stuck the label down and went to the window and watched a kid across the courtyard try to skateboard, failing over and over and still getting back on like it was the only thing he knew. Half an hour later, keys hit the lock like castanets. She came in with sunglasses on even though the blinds were shut, a grocery bag on her wrist like this was Tuesday and we were all making tacos. Her eyes snagged on me first and then her daughter and then the boxes. There was that neck tilt I know too well that means she's checking the angles. What are you doing? She said, no question mark. Her daughter didn't flinch. Moving out, she said. Their stairs hooked and didn't let go. I stepped sideways, behind one of those big fake plants that had somehow survived multiple seasonal purges, and looked at a chip on the wall I'd once patched with my thumbnail. It went how it goes. She tried soft first. Baby girl. We can't talk about this. You're overreacting. Then she slid into the register, that peels paint. How dare you? After everything I've done. You think he cares about you? Her hand hovered toward me like she might touch me just to prove to herself she still could. I said nothing. The daughter stepped between us in socks. If you touch him, I'm calling Grandma, she said in this even, terrifying voice that made me want to stand up and clap. My ex laughed, this awful broken bell sound, and then sat down on the edge of the couch like her legs had remembered gravity. Don't do this, she said, and for half a second it wasn't a command. It was a plea. Then she spotted the dish towel around the phone box and her pupils went pinprick. That's private, she said. The daughter said, so am I. I picked up a stack of her textbooks and carried them to the door because that was a thing my hands could do that didn't involve either of their faces. On my way back in, the neighbor's little dog stuck its nose out and sneezed. I wanted to trade lives with the dog. We got the last box to the elevator and the doors took forever to close like the building was interested in dramatic timing. In the lobby, the sun slapped my cheeks and felt like a rebuke and a blessing. I walked her to her boyfriend's car. She handed me a roll of quarters and said, "Laundry, you're going to forget to have quarters," and then made a face like she'd said too much and also not enough. I told her I could manage a coin exchange and she laughed properly, for the first time in weeks. I watched them drive off and I didn't go back upstairs. Instead, I went home and watered a plant I've never cared about and tried to learn. My phone started buzzing like a beestalk in a lampshade. A new number with a text that said, "We need to talk in person. It's urgent." Then, like I'd rubbed a rabbit's foot wrong, she posted a black and white ultrasound to Facebook with the caption, "Sometimes the universe gives you a reason to fight for love." I don't even have Facebook notifications on. My coworker sent me a screenshot with 11 question marks. I didn't answer him. I opened the image and zoomed. The hospital logo was from a place, in Florida, we've never been. The date's stamp had been cropped, badly. I reverse searched the image, and watched it pop up on a Pinterest board called Baby Vibes under a username that was definitely not hers. I felt a ridiculously clean relief. The kind that leaves you light-headed because you've been bracing for a different shape of impact. I texted one thing back to the new number, "Please stop." Then I blocked it and turned my phone upside down like I was hiding it from a thunderstorm. The universe, petty thing that it is, sent me a knock at 8 p.m. Anyway. Not her. 2 cops doing a welfare check because a concerned party said I wasn't answering and had made statements. They were decent about it, apologetic in that we have to do this way, their radio chatter like flies. I sat on my couch and told them I was okay while my heart tried to skitter out my ribs. One of them looked at the photo on my fridge of me in a stupid hat holding a trout and said, "Nice catch." I told him I'd let it go. He said, "Good," and wrote something on a pad and they left. I locked the door twice and then 3 times like that would keep the narrative out. I didn't sleep because my brain is a raccoon with a flashlight, but the next morning, the married woman from before texted me a single line, "Saw the post. Are you okay?" I wrote back, "Yeah. Pinterest baby." She sent back a middle finger emoji and a sunflower, which felt like a benediction in a language I didn't know I spoke. She said she was filing her own paperwork and that she hoped I got something like quiet soon. Me too. Quiet found me, not with violins, but with an Amtrak ticket. That canceled flight to the desert had Burr wrote under my skin. That place wasn't hers anymore. It could be just a place again. I packed a backpack with less than I needed because I like pretending I'm capable of living on a granola bar and willpower, and I got on a train headed nowhere romantic. The car smelled like coffee and old carpet. An older couple held hands across the aisle like it was a dare. A kid in a dinosaur hoodie ate pretzels one by one with religious focus. I watched Hills and Spool. I watched empty baseball diamonds. I watched a man mow a perfect spiral into his front yard with devotion. Somewhere past a town with one gas station and a diner named after somebody's aunt, my phone buzzed once. Her daughter, "We made pasta. Too much. Do you want leftovers for your freezer?" No pressure. I texted back that I wasn't in town, but yes, absolutely, I would love freezer pasta. I meant it with the fierce gratitude of someone who has eaten alone enough lately. I got off the train in a town that had more wind than people and walked until the sand started, then farther, until the wind wore my thoughts down to their softest edges. I sat on a sun-warmed rock and put that Polaroid on my knee. I didn't cry. I didn't feel like a phoenix. I felt like a guy sitting on a rock with a picture of a person he loved and didn't anymore in the way that mattered. The wind tried to take it and I put it back in my wallet, face inward. Not to hide her. To remind myself to keep my face turned toward wherever I'm going. When I got home, there was a Tupperware container on my doormat labeled "Pasta Emergency" in blue tape. Underneath it, a post-it with a doodle of a dinosaur holding a fork. My sloth magnet held it up on the fridge like it was evidence of a better kind of ridiculous. I microwaved a bowl right then even though it was 10:30 a.m. p.m. and burned my tongue and laughed alone in my kitchen and didn't feel like the main character of a tragedy anymore. Just a guy with a fork and a future. Update 4. The universe is a flair for theater. I was at the laundromat at 7:03 a.m. memorizing the choreography of quarter slot push start and pretending that made me a person with a handle on things when a woman in scrubs approached me like we were old friends. "You my name?" she said, bright as morning TV. She handed me a manila envelope and a smile. "You've been served." She walked out with dryer lint on her shoe. Inside, a temporary restraining order. Against me. Court date circled in highlighter like a party invite. My stomach did that falling elevator thing. The language was the kind that makes your brain go high-pitched and woolly. She said I was harassing her. Stalking her. Showing up places. She listed the night with the ice cream like I'd been the wolf at the door and not the idiot on her doormat who had just met a war. My name next to words that didn't belong to me felt like trying on a sweater that was all thorns. Before panic could polish off the last of my rational thought, her daughter called. She dated you, too? Her voice was small and furious. She served me last night. She put unknown male on it and then, in parentheses, my boyfriend. There was a quiet like a power outage. Then, I'll write a statement. She said it in the same tone you reserve for, I'll get a shovel. I sat at my table with a pot of coffee that tasted faintly of pennies and built a timeline on the floor with blue painter's tape because paper wasn't big enough for all the ways this had doubled back on itself. I texted diner guy. He sent me PDFs like a human photocopier. The married woman wrote me a clean paragraph with dates that made the floor tilt. My coworker sent the visitor log from the day of the cupcakes with a sticky note that said, in case a judge likes snacks. I printed the welfare check form number and the screenshot where she invited herself to my favorite restaurant, her face reflected in the silverware like a funhouse. Courthouse day felt like getting on a bus you didn't mean to board. Fluorescent lights, that made everyone look a little haunted, laminate floors, the particular hush of people who are about to tell a stranger the worst parts of themselves. A bailiff said my name in a voice that could nudge a bear out of a dumpster. She was already there. Sunglasses perched in her hair like a crown. White cardigan. A canvas tote that said be kind in script so loopy it gave me motion sickness. When she spoke, she used the voice she say it's Fort Saw agents and maitre d's. Polite, breathy, full of delicate suffering. He won't let go. He keeps showing up. He made a scene at my work. She dabbed at the suggestion of tears with a tissue that didn't get wet. The judge watched her the way people watch a seagull near their fries. My turn. My hands forgot what to do with themselves. I gave the judge copies. I heard myself say things in a courtroom voice I didn't know I had. She came to my office and said she was my fiancé. The receptionist's sworn statement with a timestamp. The welfare check slip. The Pinterest baby with a fluorescent hospital badge. The airline confirmation with my miles like confetti I hadn't thrown. I didn't say she broke me in half, Your Honor. I said, I have not initiated contact. I have been responding to repeated, unwanted contact and showing up when her daughter asked me to. The daughter stepped up like she was taking a final she'd studied for since birth. She didn't look at her mother. He was with me that night, she said. I invited him. He didn't come over any other time. He hasn't called her. She came to his work. She held her phone like a Bible and read dates in a voice that did not shake. There was a pause where you could hear the paper think. The judge folded her hands. Miss, she said to my ex, not unkindly, this is not what restraining orders are for. Then to me, do you want one? The question felt like a door being cracked when I thought the house only had windows. Yes, I said. It came out steady. She nodded. Temporary order granted. Service to be completed within 7 days. No contact of any kind. Third-party arrangement for property, if any. Both of you, stop. Her gavel was a plastic pen against a file, but it might as well have been thunder. In the hallway, lemon cleaner and the flat, metallic taste of adrenaline. She drifted toward me like she still believed she was an ocean and I was tide. A bailiff appeared out of nowhere and became a wall with a smile. Ma'am, he said. This is your stop. Her laugh broke on the corner of her mouth and slid off. 2 hours later, a florist knocked on her door with a square glass face and daisies that weren't, the process server and scrubs again, God's own improv troupe. For you, she said, and handed over the paper with the same sunny voice. I only know because the daughter texted me a picture of the bouquet with, she got served by Gerber. I snorted so loud my upstairs neighbor's cat thumped to the floor. At 10 p.m. A new number. You took it too far. You're ruining my life. I watched the 3 dots think about becoming a paragraph and then go away like a thought someone swallowed. I didn't write back. I powered my phone off for the first time in months and the quiet tucked itself around me like a heavy hotel blanket. Morning found me in a therapy office because my manager slid me an EAT pamphlet and said, please go say words to a professional so you stop saying them to the break room microwave. The waiting room had a fish tank with 2 fish who had clearly filed grievances against each other. A pen in the shape of a bone. My therapist was a woman with hair that did whatever it wanted and the kind of patience that doesn't make you itch. At one point, after I explained the Pinterest baby and the cupcakes and the courthouse daisies, she leaned back and said, grief has bad manners. It will knock everything off your shelves and then ask what's for dinner. I laughed in a way that sounded like a leak. She gave me homework that wasn't homework. Go somewhere your body remembers liking you. That somewhere turned out to be the farmer's market, because apparently I enjoy walking into haunted houses in broad daylight to prove I'm not afraid of sheets. Saturday. The same band that always looks like they met on Craigslist was doing a soft cover of a hard song. Near the flower stalls, those crates, that dumb perfume I can smell now even in my sleep. I bought a basil plant the size of a toddler and a bundle of radishes so red it felt performative. Diner guy was there, because of course he was, hands in pockets, looking like a man adjacent to vegetables. We saw each other and did that tiny man nod that contains entire novels and zero words. No pity, no club membership handbook. Just we're still here. Halfway to the exit, a vendor called, "You look like you need something green," and handed me a small bottle. Vetiver and sea salt. Ground and air in one. I bought it because I want to smell like I belong to a planet again. I sprayed it on my wrist and for once it felt like I wasn't trying on a different person, I was putting on armor you can't see. On my way home, my doorbell cam pinged. A figure in a hoodie, quick, doing that sitcom quiet that is not quiet. A gift bag on my doormat, tissue of paper like tons of fire. I waited in my car until the elevator timer I've built in my head ticked down, then went up and toe-tapped the bag like it might bite. Inside, a spiral notebook with my name on the cover in a handwriting I know like a road, and a second phone wrapped in that same dish towel. A post-it on top in the daughter's clean print. I didn't read it. You don't have to either. Do what helps. I put both in my hall closet on the top shelf next to my extra light bulbs. I took a Sharpie and wrote on the box, "Evidence/do not engage Roman 2, electric boogaloo." The act of naming it stupid felt like scrubbing something off my rebs. At 6, I carried the Tupperware back over to her place. Pasta emergency returns the favor like a boomerang. Her boyfriend opened the door with a spatula like a scepter. She yelled from the kitchen, "You like garlic?" and then didn't wait for me to answer and added more anyway. We ate on their floor because the couch still had that showroom creak and the table wobbled like a moral. She slid me a Ziploc of frozen cookie dough for days when your blood sugar is low and your dignity is high, and I put it in my pocket like contraband. On my way out, she pressed a key into my palm. Not to anything of hers. Whoa, at a box. "If she starts mailing you novels," she said, "use this for a while." She made a face like a person who has rehearsed a future and decided to pick a better one. When I got home, there was a cardboard cylinder leaning against my door, with my name in block letters. No return address. Inside, the lake photo, enlarged, the one where I'm sunburned and she's in my hat and we look like two people who think they can build the weather with their hands. No. I leaned it against my kitchen chair and made a grilled cheese with too much butter like I was daring my arteries to send a strongly worded email. The sloth magnet got promoted to head of art curation and held up the vetiver receipt instead of anything with her handwriting on it. I don't know what comes next. Court again, probably. More paperwork with my name in fonts it doesn't deserve. Maybe a day where I get through until dusk and realize I didn't check the door 3 times. Maybe basil on eggs and a text that just says, "There's soup, you in?" I walked my trash down to the van and stood for a second in the parking lot looking up at the light over my door doing that moth attempt flicker. Somewhere a kid practiced trumpet in a way that suggested both a future and a hostage situation. I smelled like vetiver and butter and laundry soap. My phone stayed quiet on purpose. It felt like the opposite of a cliffhanger. It felt like a sidewalk.